Good morning, everybody, or good evening, as it might be, depending on where you are. Welcome to another episode of OP Radio. I'm your host, Mac. I'm a content strategist at OP Labs. OP Radio is a weekly show we host here every week, Wednesday, usually at 4:20 p.m. UTC, a little earlier today. For our guest, speaking of which, I'll allow them to introduce themselves. Good morning, Isaac. Do you want to let the folks know who you are and what you're here to talk about?
Hey, yeah, thanks for inviting me onto your show. Yeah, this is a great opportunity. Yeah, my name is Isaac. I'm from Zora, currently working on building Nouns Builder. I'm the product manager for Nouns Builder. My background is I'm not a technical product manager, but I have been spending the past 2.5 years very much just building communities, building products within the crypto space. My main interest is very much around onchain communities, onchain creation, DAOs, and yeah, making it a much more thoughtful experience for onchain collectives and creators. Yeah.
Nice. And were you building communities elsewhere before crypto, before you're building on-chain communities, or is this your first foray into
Yeah.
community building?
Yeah. So prior to crypto, I was working on a startup. It was essentially a social audio app for career advice. And the idea behind it was getting people to share career advice through sound bites or like audio clips. So very much around community building, tapping into like young professional network, connecting them with folks who have more experience in their career. So have had some community building experience previously, but then yeah, very grateful to be able to bring that experience into product management and just building products in crypto. Yeah.
Nice. I'm curious, what differences, if any, have you noticed, Isaac, with working in crypto and Web3, working with on-chain communities as opposed to off-chain?
Yeah, I think it's the platform where you built the community, right? Like previously, I think LinkedIn was very much the main place where you'd connect with fellow builders or professionals. But with crypto, it's all on X, on Twitter, on Discord. It's now on Firecaster, yeah, on Telegram even. I think there are more distribution channels. There are more ways for you to connect with different builders within the space. It's more accessible. I think the biggest difference is I think more people are willing to collaborate with you and they're more open to your ideas. They don't shunt you off as quickly and they're willing to give you a chance. And I feel like crypto has that beauty about it, like that unique trait of camaraderie around collaboration. So yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think the platform and the infrastructure, basically where these conversations are taking place, does have an effect, right? I don't think we need to get too far into it, what that is, but I think it does matter. Sort of the place that these conversations are actually taking place will affect that conversation.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, that's why LinkedIn is everybody's least favorite platform, I think. Great. So let's get into Nouns DAO and Nouns Builder. Isaac, that's what we're here to talk about today. I think before we get into Nouns Builder, it'd probably be helpful to explain what Nouns DAO is first.
Yeah, I think personally, I'll give you a quick story around how I came upon Nouns. So I think it was back in September 2021. I was just looking into DAOs at the time. I wanted to look for projects that were different from 10K PFPs because back then it was just all the craze. And when I first came across Nouns, obviously the floor price was really high, but then at the time, it wasn't obvious to a lot of people how it was able to change the way you do things together on chain or like coordinate as a DAO. If essentially the official description of it from the Nouns website is actually an experimental attempt to improve the formation of on-chain avatar communities. And through that, you're able to bootstrap your community and identity with an on-chain governance and treasury. And that's actually a fork of the Compound Bravo governance. At the time, it didn't really make a lot of sense to me, but as over the past 2.5 years, you're starting to see Nouns funding all these interesting projects that spans across short films, public infrastructure, DAO tooling, new crypto consumer product, consumer goods. And that's all done through on-chain governance and on-chain treasury. So and it's all tied by the idea of a meme. If you look at Nouns and all its Nouns avatars or PFPs, it's all got this glasses called noggles. It's that one constant trait that you see across every single noun out there. It's so recognizable nowadays that, yeah, it's in my opinion, it really has successfully proliferated its meme through a very strong visual identity.
Yeah, full disclosure, I'm pretty new to the whole Nouns DAO community. So, but I have seen exactly what you're describing, Isaac. I've definitely seen these NFTs. I've seen the noggles. First time I've learned that word and what it is, but I've definitely seen those on the internet. So I agree that meme is definitely proliferated.
Yeah, and the great thing about the noggles is that it's CCO. So you see people remixing what noggles could look like on different sorts of, I guess, like visual elements. If you look around, you would see a Zora Zorb with a noggle. You would even see a Pudgy Penguin with a noggle. But the good thing about Nouns is that it's CCO, it's open source, it's public infrastructure, it's public good. Yeah. So yeah, very powerful stuff that's happening right now within the on-chain community space, led by Nouns. Yeah.
And I wanted to circle back on something you said, Isaac. And I don't have the most coherent question for this, but you mentioned the fact that Nouns sort of baked in is on-chain governance and the treasury. And it made me think, well, you do have NFT communities that exist without those things, right? Like, I don't know, CryptoPunks would be a prime example. Like, as far as I know, they don't really have, they're not utilizing governance as far as I know.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm just curious if you could dive into that a little more, what that unlocks for these communities, the ability to have this sort of governance framework in place from the get-go when they start their DAO with Nouns DAO.
Yeah, I think most people, when it comes to understanding what a DAO is, it's very much at least how when I first got into DAOs, it's very much a collective of different working groups working towards the same goal, but you've got different multi-sigs. Someone holds the key, someone needs to sign it. It's quite centralized in some form. With Nouns, it's fully on-chain in the sense where no one holds the key to execute any of the proposals. Like if someone puts up a proposal to Nouns DAO and all the Nouns members and Nouns holders get to vote on what they want to support. And if that passes, if that proposal passes, then people can execute the proposal and then the designated smart contract transactions get executed. And that's all public info. No one's hiding anything. No one gets to say, hey, no, let's not let this proposal pass because it's fully on chain. If you go to nouns.wtf/vote, you get to see really good examples of what this model in action.
Yeah, at the risk of sort of oversimplifying here, it just sounds like it's a method for a community to organize themselves and actually sort of take action and decide on which actions to take.
Exactly. I think over the years, I've formed a view around how DAOs feel too professional and they feel really boring. It feels like a chore. And with the Nouns model, it injects a new fun element that was not present previously. Because previously, as a DAO, it's very much about work, an alternative way of working. But Nouns DAO, or like the Nouns model in general, encourages and incentivizes you to make decisions collectively as a group, as part of a DAO member. Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds less like sort of work and more like just sort of community organizing.
Yeah, I've heard some people saying like it feels very much like
you're just sort of, I guess, you get on your soapbox on Twitter or X and try to maybe make something happen, or in Discord or something.
Yeah, it's a lot of the NFT collections at the moment, a WhatsApp group or a Telegram group that has money in the bank account, a shared bank account, and they could collectively vote on how to best spend the money.
Yeah, and what would the alternative to that be? Like, let's say you're a member of let's say you're a member of some NFT community, but you don't have a DAO
you're seeing a lot of dormant NFT collections, and it's community based, and it's just because I guess the value stops at collecting the NFT. Say you're a huge fan of this one 10K PFP collection or this open edition collection, you collect it and you can't really do anything with it. As part of the community, you're not activated, you're not incentivized to do things together. And if anything, I don't think there is a clear alternative solution to activating an NFT collection at the moment. Like you would generally rely on a centralized team or core team to kind of make things like kind of build momentum for a project that you're a holder of. Yeah.
I don't want to skip ahead too far here, but I see a direct connection with what we're talking about and basically the purpose behind optimism, which is to enable humanity to coordinate better.
Exactly. It's getting people to do things together and getting people to work towards a vision together. I would say that's a more accurate description.
Yeah, surprisingly, a simple concept, maybe not so easy to accomplish though. And wow, it's powerful though, if you can do it right.
Yeah. And I think Nouns as a really good example. Yeah, I haven't been able to find a project that has been able to build prominence and provenance this way. And I think it's really powerful. Yeah, my vision is to see more Nouns level communities being created using Nouns Builder.
And to what do you ascribe that success, Isaac? I think we talked a little bit about this before. I think it probably has something to do with the ease and the simplicity of being able to create a Nouns DAO with Nouns Builder.
Yeah, as much as I wanted to say, there are three factors that make it successful. I think personally, it feels like I think that your instinct plays a huge role as well when you look at Nouns and you compare it with different NFT projects out there. You look at Nouns, it's daily auctions, it's DAO proposals. You're like, wait, why aren't the rest of the DAOs in this space doing the same thing? Look at the proposals; it's fully on chain.
Sorry to interrupt you there, Isaac. Let's maybe dive into those, though. I think people would be interested to know. I certainly am. So, when you say daily auctions, what does that mean?
Yeah, for you to own a Nouns, there are two ways to do it. You could participate in a daily auction. You would bid against different people to win a noun. So at the moment, it's up till noun 836. So it's one noun a day. So it's been 836 days since Nouns was born. And then the other way is for you to get a secondary Nouns on a marketplace. But the beauty of a one a day Nouns auction mechanism is that with 10K PFPs or open editions, for example, let's just use 10K PFP communities as a specific example. Like you could potentially just buy a bunch of them immediately upfront, and then that could pose a lot of problems around holder concentration. Like X member or like X holder has too much power, or like just too many would hold too many tokens within a collection.
It sounds like it sounds like it's a way to combat plutocratic governance, if I'm understanding correctly.
That's
okay. Exactly. Yeah, we have a very similar thing with in optimism governance. We have the token house, which is you vote your tokens, but then there's the counterparty to that is the citizens house, where badges are given to citizens, and it's sort of a one person, one vote kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
So you're able to fight against this sort of plutocratic governance that has plagued a lot of crypto governance in the past.
Yeah, that's right. And with the floor price being at a much higher than usual, it's currently at 33 ETH, and that naturally filters for higher signal individuals. Not all of them would be coming in as with great positive intentions, but it serves as a way to filter for.
Wait, did I hear that right? That it's the floor price is 33 ETH for a Nouns NFT.
If you go to the latest auction, so nouns.wtf/now/836, it's currently the highest bid at the moment is 33.77 And then
And that's for the auction.
that's for the auction. So I think for the past month, it's been hovering around 30 to 32 each per now.
Sorry to put you on the spot, but off the top of your head, do you have an idea of what secondary sales are looking like?
I actually don't really have that information handy, but you could probably look it up on OpenSea. Yeah.
No worries. Yeah, just curious. Okay, so yeah, so interesting. That's very interesting. It seems like this is a common problem in crypto or Web3, people trying to fight against this plutocratic problem.
Yeah.
Okay, and then the other thing that is quite unique, from my understanding of Nouns DAO, is a lot of this governance is actually on chain. I wonder if you could explain to folks what that actually means.
Yeah. So to set some context, like a bit of background, if you look at a lot of DAO governance today, you would run your proposals or governance on Snapshot being one of the more popular DAO governance tooling. And so token holders would be able to vote on proposals. Yes, no, I support this. I disagree with this, abstain. And then you would take that decision. The community would then, the multi-sig of whichever working group within a DAO could decide, okay, based on the proposal here, we're going to go ahead and make this decision, like whether that's transferring funds to a multi-sig or like making a swap from ETH to USDC for staking purposes. But that requires a multi-sig to make that happen. But for DAO proposals on Nouns, that proposal, when you put it on chain, that also comes with the executable code. So that code is, you could see exactly where it's sending funds to, who it's sending funds to, what sort of contract it's calling. And then obviously the DAO proposal would have to go through entire DAO governance process, which is, if I'm not wrong, I think now this is either 9 or 12 days in total. At the end of the proposal period, what anyone could actually choose to execute the proposal, and then the code that was in the proposal would get executed, and then whether that's funds being transferred or funds being swapped to USDC, whatever that's in the proposal just gets carried out on chain with no multi-sig in the middle to meddle with anything. It just happens as a DAO.
Yeah, so just so folks understand, so a lot of communities use Snapshot as basically it's an off-chain component that they're saying, okay, we want to do this, X given action. What do people think about this? And people will vote. And then after the voting window is closed, they'll decide whether or not that action is taken. But there's still basically like a third party, this multi-sig that Isaac's describing, that will then need to take that given action, right? So it's kind of manual. Yeah. Whereas with Nouns DAO, a lot of it is baked in or automatic. So you can actually see, and I looked at some of these proposals, Isaac, you showed me, you can actually see the code. And so when that vote closes, the code either will or will not execute. Yeah,
that's right. I think on top of that, like besides off-chain proposal being a manual process, it's more so, it's not a trustless process. When I say trustless, being you would have to trust somehow someone to carry out that action as proposed in the proposal. But with DAO, like it's trustless in the sense where there's no one else to carry out that transaction besides just the members. All they have to do is click execute, and then the code just does its thing. Yeah.
I'm so glad you said that, Isaac, because that's exactly where I was headed. We use this term trustless a lot in the crypto space, and what it means is you're not trusting a human being, you're trusting in a smart contract, right? And so anybody can read that code and understand what it says and what it's going to do. And so you're removing that third party, and that's what trustlessness means. And so with Nouns DAO, from my point of view, it's a little more true to the spirit of crypto because it's trustless. Anybody can see this information is out there, this code, and anybody can view and see that action that's going to be taken. Yeah. So yeah, that's very cool. I'm just curious, Isaac, because I know you're pretty close to this. Have we seen a lot of DAOs transition to a more on-chain form of governance? I mean, to me, it just makes sense. It seems like it's more efficient for one. It's more trustless for another. So it seems to have a lot of benefits.
Yeah, we haven't seen a lot of NFT-based DAOs doing it just yet. I would say that. I think I alluded to it earlier, that the Nouns model is essentially a fork of the Compound Bravo governance model. So you're seeing a lot of DeFi DAOs using on-chain governance. Off the top of my head, I don't really have any examples, but you can probably look it up. But from an NFT point of view, NFT community, NFT collection, NFT DAO standpoint, when we're seeing more net new communities being created using Nouns Builder, yeah, would be happy to dive a little bit more into that.
Yeah, let's go there next. I was just going to say, let's go into Nouns Builder, and maybe the fact that we are seeing more of these communities is because of Nouns Builder. So why don't you explain what we know what Nouns DAO is now, so maybe go into what Nouns Builder is.
Yeah, so Nouns Builder essentially is a no-code DAO tool that lets you create your own Nounish DAO. The idea behind it was, in a way, a collaboration between Zora and Nouns DAO last year. So I think it started all like around July last year, but then the official proposal that went on chain, it's proposal 167 for those who are interested. So what Nouns Builder essentially is, it just allows literally anyone, any community to create their own Nounish DAO in the form of, so you'd get the full daily auctions or whatever interval that you like, on-chain governance, on-chain treasury, everything with just a few clicks. And you can do that with Nouns Builder. Prior to Nouns Builder, you would need to have Solidity experience to be able to fork it and customize it so it suits your DAO. So that was a lot of lift with Nouns Builder. That literally makes it so easy. You could do that within 5 to 10 minutes to create your own Nounish DAO. Yeah, essentially it was created very much as a public good. What we realized at Zora at the time was more Nounish DAOs or Nouns forks should exist for its model, its ability to enable communities to emerge progressively, to bootstrap its community, to bootstrap its brand and identity. And Nouns Builder enables all of that.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you, Isaac. I think as crypto continues to mature, we're just going to continue to see more and more tools like this that are just further lowering the barrier of entry. So, if you're a community builder, you want to create a community, you want to create a DAO, you no longer need to know Solidity or know someone who knows Solidity to do so.
Yeah, that's right. It's kind of like you have an idea. It's literally, I think at one point we were using the slogan called "Nouns Your Idea." Like you have an idea, you bring it to Nouns Builder, you create a DAO that brings your idea to life. Whatever community you're trying to build, use Nouns Builder. Like that was the direction that we were pushing for. Obviously, it's still the same, but a little bit more refined, a little bit more evolved now.
Awesome. And I know you have a few examples of these communities. So yeah, maybe that would be illustrative to explain maybe a few of the communities that have been created with Nouns Builder.
Yeah, at the launch of Nouns Builder, one of the first DAO actually was first ever Nouns DAO that was created using the tool was Purple. Purple. Essentially, it's a DAO, community-owned, community-operated, community-run DAO for the Farcaster protocol. So it's a group of really enthusiastic builders who love the Farcaster experience, who love the Farcaster protocol. They decided to come together. They decided to build a DAO to proliferate the Farcaster protocol. That could mean creating art for Farcaster. That could mean building like third-party tools that leverage the Farcaster protocol. They're one of the more successful DAOs at the moment. If you go on Farcaster today, I mean, they've most recently migrated to OP mainnet as well. So if you go on Farcaster today, you'd see a lot of people holding Purple DAO tokens. And there's an entire channel dedicated to Purple members. And they're talking about things like they're talking about things like, oh, how do we proliferate the Farcast protocol even more? And this is purely grassroots. It's like the core team at Farcast has got they've got literally no sort of decisiveness around how this DAO should run, just because it's by the members for the members. So that's Purple. And then we've got The Park, run by Derek Taylor. He's an amazing creator, amazing artist within the space. He does something called Fridays at the Park. They come together, they make music, and then they mint these videos as a DAO on chain. That's also through Nouns Builder. We've got Public Assembly as well. Public Assembly essentially is I would call it like a crypto native R&D collective of freely intelligent builders trying to progress, like trying to build technology for different builders within the crypto space. And that's all done through Nouns Builder. There's Energy as well. So Energy is also similar to Purple. It's a protocol community DAO for Zora Network that's on Zora Network. And some of the upcoming ones include like base management. So base management is going to be like a Purple-esque community DAO for the base network. So that's happening, soon. That's a lot of hype, a lot of curated. It's a curated approach of building a Nounish DAO using Nouns Builder.
Yeah, and you mentioned it, Isaac. I just want to underline the fact that these are all, these are, I forget how you phrased it, but basically these are unofficial communities, right?
That's right.
Bates and Farcaster isn't really involved or controlling this in any way. This is just really fanatical and enthusiastic community members who have taken it upon themselves to create these organizations.
Yeah, exactly. And that's kind of the spirit that you want to see within crypto, right? The fact that it's so open source, it's kind of like it's up for grabs. Every single opportunity that you see that can improve the space. If you have an idea, you're able to coordinate folk to come together and coordinate efforts together, then you could bring all these ideas to life.
Yeah, I also wanted to add that point as well. A way I like to think of it is there's no gatekeepers, right? Like, so if you're someone and you're interested in something and you want to contribute to it, well, by all means, you're welcomed and encouraged to. You don't have to submit a resume. You don't have to have somebody hire you for a role. You can just get started right now. And, with all these transactions being on chain in a way that can kind of serve as your resume.
Yeah.
Very cool. I love that idea. Not needing to wait for somebody to give you an opportunity, but just seizing it yourself.
That's right.
I think that's a very powerful concept.
Yeah. And then I think the other thing as well, it's like communities and on-chain communities, I personally feel is going to be, it's here to stay. It's not going to go away. You're going to see more people coming together to do things together on chain as more tools are being built, and Nouns Builder is very much at the core of, I would personally like to think that Nouns Builder is very much at the fringes, at the frontier of helping these communities form on chain.
I'm just curious, Isaac, is there a Optimism related Nouns DAO? Seems like, with the purple Zora one, an easy layup would seem to be one called Red for Optimism.
Yeah, exactly. I think that should be that should be something that we explore a little bit more. Next, Zora Network's got one, Farcast has got one, Base is about to get one. I think it's only natural for OP Foundation or like the developers and builders within the OP ecosystem to come together and build a Red DAO. Shout out, like, if you're listening to this and you're like, oh, I want to build a DAO for Optimism, hit me up. Happy to help you out.
Yeah, who knows? Maybe somebody listening to this episode of OP Radio today will start that. You never know.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's get into the roadmap for Nouns Builder, Isaac. What's in store? What can we look forward to?
Yeah, at the moment, we're spending most of our time with our protocol upgrades. To give you a bit of a sneak peek, a little preview around some of the things I'm working on is we're calling Bali, Upgrade Bali. So Collection Plus is one of the main features that we're working on. And at a very high level, what we're trying to do is allowing existing NFT collections to upgrade into becoming a Nouns DAO. So if you're an NFT collection, you're an open edition collection, something like Stand with Crypto, or if you're a member of, if you hold some Azuki and like 100 other Azuki members who want to come together to do things together, you could upgrade literally based on your NFTs. You could create an Azuki DAO that's not official, but then you want to share the same visual identity. You can do that using this Collection Plus feature. And we think it's going to unlock a lot of untapped creative energy in these dormant collections. Because right now you've seen people collect an NFT and then creators are like, wait, what's the best way for me to activate and get all these members and collectors to come together to really do something together as not just as collectors, but rather as members of the community. So Collection Plus I would say it's one of the highest leverage thing that we're working on at the moment.
So this is the answer, Isaac. Earlier, I brought up an example of some NFT communities who maybe aren't really organizing or aren't organizing as effectively as they could. And so it sounds like this is a way to now, okay, there might already be a pre-existing NFT collection, but you can now organize yourselves with on-chain governance using Nouns Builder.
Yeah, that is what we're trying to achieve. That's the goal for Collection Plus. Just imagining an open edition like Stand with Crypto or Zorbs or like Rainbow Zorbs, it's just folks coming together because they love the meme. They want to do things together with the meme and not just have it be an NFT that you look at in your wallet. Rather, you want to use this NFT in this wallet, do cool stuff together with other folks who also own these NFTs, and hopefully get to a point where you're able to fund proposals, fund projects, fund builders, and you start building this like really positive feedback loop of being a collector to becoming an activator.
Very cool. And anything else we can look forward to from Nouns Builder?
Yeah, so we're building an L1 to L2 migration process of flow. So essentially, if you're an L1 DAO at the moment on Nouns Builder, we're building a way for you to migrate your DAO to any L2s that we support. So that's all the OP, like most of the OP stack chains. So Zora Network, Base, and OP mainnet. So that's one of our priorities at the moment. We're also working on a custom metadata renderer. At the moment, if you look at all the artwork for Nounish DAOs, they're usually randomized and you would require different layers, and they're usually just SVG files or PNG files. But with this new custom metadata renderer, that literally allows you to auction, to have like audio, like a music video and audio file. You could have a 3D file as your token, as your DAO token. So that unlocks a lot of cool experiments in the, I guess, creative token space. And last but not least, we're revamping something called Droposals. So Droposals essentially is coined by Gami, very prominent member within the Nouns community. It's essentially a way for you to create a proposal to create NFT drops. So combining that, you have Droposals. And why we're very bullish on this idea of revamping the Proposals experience is that the best way for you to grow a community is actually to mint stuff, to create media. And if we build a way, if we improve the entire Proposals experience by 10 times over, you're going to make it so much easier for these DAOs to create stuff together, share their memes, get people to collect their memes, and that's how you grow your community. So yeah, those are some of the stuff that we're working on.
Yeah, it sounds like a common theme there is just further lowering the barrier of entry for folks to get involved, which I think is very smart.
Yeah. Barrier to like
you shared
yeah.
I was just going to say, Isaac, you shared an interesting stat with me earlier, which is, we've talked about how Nouns Builder, you've lowered the barrier of entry because it's a no-code DAO creation tool, right? So you don't need to know Solidity. And then along with that, by being on chains like OP Mainnet and Base, where it used to cost somewhere around $150, give or take, in ETH to create a DAO on layer 1 Ethereum.
Mm-hmm.
it's now somewhere around the order of $10. So that's like a 15x price reduction.
Yeah, and I would say like $150 was usually when the gas price was a bit lower. Like when at peak gas prices, I think we were seeing like $300, $400 even. And that was deterring a lot of people from creating DAOs. And now when you create your DAO on Nouns Builder, on L2, any of the L2 chains literally costs you $10, $15, under $20. And it makes it super affordable to create an on-chain community with little to no Solidity experience. And that gas saving, that cost saving also translates to on-chain governance participation. So what I mean by that is previously you would have to pay during the meme coin season a few months ago, you literally have to pay $8, $10 to put a vote in. And a lot of the users were saying to us like, oh, we're not going to vote just because it's too expensive for me to even try to vote. But now for you to vote on L2, it's probably in a cents, like literally a couple of cents at the most. Yeah.
I think that's a very important point, right? Because it's not just the creation of the DAO. The financial cost has been lowered significantly, which is huge, but also the ongoing participation, which is just as, if not more important.
Yeah.
If you have this recurring cost of dollars all the time, every time you want to vote, that might discourage some people. But if you lower that to a couple cents, I think you're going to get a lot more people who are willing to engage.
Yeah, 100%. And if your DAO tokens are currently they currently have around like 0.05 ETH, for example, like on L1 mainnet, like your gas could be like $20, $30 just to bid on these auctions. But then on L2, it's very trivial.
Awesome. Well, I think we're getting close to winding down here, Isaac, but I know you wanted to touch on Builder DAO and how Builder DAO fits into the picture here. So do you want to touch on that before we wrap this up?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, so Builder DAO was in November last year. Builder DAO was actually created as a governing DAO for the Nouns Builder protocol. What it essentially does is it maintains the development of the Nouns Builder protocol. So any underlying smart contracts that you see on Nouns Builder, that's governed by Builder DAO. If you look at Builder DAO today, it's got 200 plus tokens. We've got really interesting builders within the DAO. What we're essentially doing is funding resident engineers. We're funding new projects that essentially help us proliferate our vision. And our vision is to power on-chain communities through public good DAO infrastructure. And starting with Nouns Builder, so Builder DAO is actually doing it's a really interesting model of governing a DAO protocol. And I would say it's one of a kind within the space. Yeah, it's the other unique thing about Builder DAO is that I mentioned this earlier about engineering residencies. I think it started by the first examples of engineering residencies were in Nouns. You would see folks like CDT putting up proposals to essentially contract for Nouns, the Nouns Foundation, to build the Nouns protocol. And then we wanted to replicate that model here at Builder DAO. And we currently have two part-time. We've got one full-time resident and one part-time resident working across client development and protocol development. And I would say it's been very successful so far. Literally everything that we've been able to ship in the past 6 to 8 months have all come out of these resident engineers. And it shows that the Nouns DAO model does work in terms of building public good infrastructure. Like this use case has been proven. So imagine wanting to replicate this model for different sorts of use case, say building a music label, building a record label, building a not-for-profit DAO somehow, or building a new version of building a creative DAO where you want to fund artists. You can literally do all that. And Builder DAO is a very good example of a shining light in the Nouns space, I would say, Builder DAO.
And to be clear, Builder DAO is utilizing this Nouns DAO model. Is that correct?
That's right. So Builder DAO was created using Nouns Builder. Fully daily auctions. We fund proposals all the time. We get about 5 proposals a month. Lots of exciting proposals coming up as well. If you go to Nouns.build, you should see Build a DAO on it.
So that's very interesting that this project that was built to create DAOs has now spun up a DAO to actually build itself.
That's right. That's a matter.
Bit of an inception move there.
That's right. That's the exciting part about it. And I think the cool part where Build a DAO is it really aligns with Optimism in general in terms of building public goods, right? And then Build a DAO is very much in that space of building public good infrastructure for on-chain communities, for DAOs, using the Nouns model.
Absolutely. Yeah, I also see a lot of alignment there. Awesome. Well, this has been fascinating, Isaac. Really appreciate you coming on OP Radio. Is there anything else you'd like to add before we close this episode out?
Yeah, definitely check out Nouns Builder. We've got a Discord as well. The links to our Twitter Discord, it's all nouns.build. You can also find us, if you're already on Farcaster, you can find us. There's a Builder channel as well. Lots of conversations going on at the moment around improving the protocol, improving the client, improving the user experience for Nouns Builder. Yeah, if you're a developer and you want to build cool stuff within a DAO space, definitely check us out. I'm happy to work with you and see if there are opportunities for you to get involved. If you're someone who wants to make great art, or if you're someone who's trying to get involved in a DAO, but you're not typically technical, but you've got different skills that you want to contribute to the DAO, definitely reach out to me as well. Happy to chat to you and see how we could get you on board and see how we could collaborate together.
Yeah, and if you're listening to this episode of OP Radio, I'd hazard to guess you might be at least a little curious about Optimism. So why doesn't someone go and create that red DAO? I'd like to see that happen.
Exactly. We need to see a red DAO, or and yeah, I've been chatting to some Optimism people as well, and they're excited about the idea of creating a protocol community DAO within on Nouns Builder. So yeah, if you're hearing this, I'm planting that idea, I'm planting that seed in your brain at the moment. So yeah, the opportunity is there. Let's work together to make that happen.
Yep. Go ahead and slide in Isaac's DMs. Sounds like they're open.
Yep.
So yeah, this has been great, Isaac. Thanks so much. And I'll just close this out by saying thanks everybody for tuning in to another episode of OP Radio. And these episodes get edited and uploaded to YouTube, Spotify, Google, Apple Podcasts. So go to wherever you like to listen to your podcast and subscribe there to hear from all these great builders in the Optimism ecosystem. And with that, I will bid you all adieu. Hope you have a great rest of your day, and we'll catch you next week. See you later.
Thank you. See you guys. Bye.